There are many deep emotional cores that run through the whole film, and certainly I was so overjoyed when I read the script and saw that, Gloria got to be, one of those pieces, her relationship to Barbie and how Barbie and Gloria sort of reflect each other back to one another and sort of help each other find themselves in a deeper way was so beautiful. And that the moment that I first teared up was when Gloria and Barbie realized that they're looking for each other.
Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Welcome. We're coming off of a summer at the box office, which was huge. It felt like everyone was really getting back to the movies and loving being in theaters again. And a big part of that is because of two movies that some of you were in, Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Go on, say it. You want to say it?
Say it together.
Barbenheimer. Yes. What do you guys make of the whole sensation? Did you do?
Loved it.
It was so fun.
It was so cool. I think everyone's I feel sometimes it can be so kind of gladiatorial and movies are pitted against each other. And this was a celebration, and this was like, go see both. And if you don't see both, then you're going to be out of this conversation going on. And it was just, the people went for the double bill. People took Thursday off work to go see both. It was thrilling. It was thrilling.
It was so exciting. I think one of the things about this summer, and Barbenheimer in particular, was this joy at a cultural experience, like something happening that was joyful, that everybody could be a part of and then talk about. And I live in Manhattan, so on the day that the movies came out, I could see on the subway and in the streets, like people dressed in pink, people dressed in suits, people dressed in half pink and half suits. And it was like Halloween, but for the movies. It was so fun. I think it infused a lot of energy into the experience.
Yeah. I remember just because of the SAG strike hitting, we didn't get to ever watch it with an audience, so I'd never seen it with a crowd. I'd always sort of really wanted to. And so we went home, and then John and I managed to find tickets to an IMAX in Nyack, New York at 4 p.m. And I was like, let's go. We'll go in like when the lights go out. And we went in, and I saw a group of teenage boys coming in dressed as him. And I thought, wow, like with pipes dangling out of their mouths. It was just amazing. And it was like, I called Chris Nolan afterwards. I was like, you're not going to believe what I just saw. It was just so exciting.
Yeah, it really became a huge cultural moment.
Yeah.
Did anyone else do a double feature? No.
I didn't do it, but I've seen Barbie 4 times, so I think
I
that.
saw Barbie 3 times the first week it came out.
I actually spent a lot of money on Barbies. Thanks, guys.
You're like, I don't need the marketing.
Spent a lot of money on Barbies.
Yeah. America, everyone is so obsessed with the monologue, the speech you give in Barbie, and talking about women, their role in society. And you did 30 takes for that, apparently?
I mean, it felt like that. It was like we shot it over 2 days, and we started on everyone else's coverage. So I had given the monologue like for an entire day before we turned around and got it. But it was long, so it was good for me because I could, learn the words.
You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people.
Greta said, like, I just want you to go for it. I'm like, does it need to be funny? Does it need to, and she just let me play and be as truthful and honest in the moment. And I just had 100% faith that she would figure out how it fit into the larger tone of the piece. And it was really, truly a joy as an actor to get to, it's a gift to be given an opportunity like that.
Yeah, I feel like as women, it just, like, it really spoke to a truth that we needed to hear verbalized. And as I was preparing for this, Julianne, I was reading, old interviews you did. Yeah. And there was one this year where you said that someone once told you to, like, try to be prettier. And
They did not say.
I know. Yeah.
well, I was just thinking about, like, beauty standards and all of these ideals women are held to. But what happened there? And have you, and any of you, been in a situation where you had to sort of, like, respond to a comment like that?
It was, it was one of those situations where I was talking to an agent and I was in my late 20s and she was talking about career strategy and she said, you need to look prettier.
Oh my
You need to look really good. And I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. This is what I look like, But I think, like, I love Barbie so much. And I grew up, I had a million Barbies. I was watching the end just like, I had that Barbie, and that Barbie, and that Barbie, and that Barbie. But the promise of Barbie, and I think the thing that speaks to beauty standards or whatever, is that we got this doll that said that you were going to be a grown-up someday, and you could be anything. And you could be beautiful, or you could have your hair chopped off, or you could do whatever, but you could have it all. And then I think that the thing that happened is you grow up and you go, oh, wait, we're still not allowing for both those things. We're still not allowing for being capable and beautiful. We're not going to be able to have those jobs we thought we could do. We don't, So that was what was so moving about it, I think, and about your speech in particular.
The way that you did it, you could have, there are all sorts of versions that you can do, but you said it like it is the most normal thing in the world, like something that is so true and that everybody knows, and why are we not talking about it? It was something in between, like it could have been like a very sad fact to tell or something that is really, we fight for something, but the way you said it was like, it's there all the time and everybody knows, and that was really, to find that balance, I found that really interesting.
Thank you.
We're talking about, like, authenticity and really getting to character. I know Christopher Nolan is very about authenticity, and he even had you film in the actual home of the Oppenheimers, right? How did that, like, were you able to let that go? How did that help impact the experience?
Well, it was eerie, being there, and I mean, everything on his sets is so real and so of the world and in the moment, and so it's such a focused, intense set to be on. I mean, exhilarating as well. And like, I also didn't train. I'm like you guys. So I think for me, I'm sort of, I feel like I still learn ways of disassociating, and I don't know what the structure is, and I don't really have a set plan for how I go about doing anything, but I did find that Chris's sets were really intoxicating because there was a kind of pulse to the set, and he expects everyone to be at, like, the top echelon of your game, and I love that. I want to be a bit scared and a bit unsure, and to have someone just tighten the screws on me. So I think the environments were so transporting. I mean, it was like, honestly, when he first came on that Los Alamos set, which he built in the middle of the New Mexican desert, it was just extraordinary. That will transport you. Like, you get kind of kidnapped by the world that he creates, and even though he's not an actor, he knows what you need.
Can a distinction be made between Soviet communism and communism?
Well, in the days when I was a member, I thought they were definitely two things.
Oh?
I thought that the Communist Party of the United States was concerned with our domestic problems. I now no longer believe this. I believe the whole thing's linked together and spread all over the world, and I've believed this since I left the party 16 years ago.
But
17 years ago. My mistake.
But you said...
Sorry, 18. 18 years ago.
And I think as much as we all love sitting around and checking our phones and drinking our coffee, it's like, I realize when that's taken from you, it's not torturous, it's amazing, because everyone focuses and everyone talks about the work, and it's, yeah, it was just one of the most intensely focused things I've ever done.
You can't drink coffee on a set?
I mean, you can, but I do it sort of, no, listen, I just like slurp it.
Never being in a Chris Nolan film.
Coleman would always just come and check on me. For example, I wanted to do my own stunts. So there's a part in the movie where he slaps Celie so hard to the ground. And they asked me to step out, and they were bringing in a stunt. And I was like, no, I want to do it. And Coleman's like, no, she can't do it, no, Fantasia. And I'm like, Coleman, please, I want to do it. And he's like, why? And after I explained to him that I needed to let go of certain situations that I had went through in my personal life with abuse, that this was going to be my freeing moment. And I was going to be able to let it all go and walk away from it and forgive. And he just sat and looked at me for a minute. And he said, you know what? I'm not going to stand in the way of that. If you want to do it, but you got to promise me you won't get hurt. And I was like, Coleman, look at me. I'm a tough cookie. I got this.
Fantasia, I wanted to ask you about, talk about like growing up. You played this role in The Color Purple on Broadway in 2005.
Yes.
Yeah. And then when they came to you and said, will you be in the film adaptation, you were like, I do not want to go back there. I don't want to do this. Yeah. So tell me how you changed your mindset about that.
Yeah, I said no several times, even to Queen Oprah, and I love her. But
to her face?
On the phone. No. On the phone. And I said it nicely. I didn't say no. I was just like, Oprah, that was very taxing for me because my life is so much like Celie's. Mm. So I felt like Celie is me. And at the time I played it, my life was in shambles. I was carrying my stuff and Celie's stuff, and that was heavy, to carry my cross and hers, and to play it every night, sometimes twice a night, to be told you're ugly every day, to be physically abused. That was tough. So I told them I don't want to go back, but I prayed about it because I have a 22-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter, and there's so many young women like myself who are going through those same things now, who feel that they're not beautiful, who feel that they're not smart enough, who feel because they went through something, it's over. I was told that it was over for me. I had my daughter at 17 years old. I dropped out of school in 9th. When I went to the Idol, nobody was just opening up the door. They were saying, wait a minute, she's been through this, she's been through that. But I wanted them to see that no matter what you go through, you can make up your mind to say, I'm gonna walk away from this and I'm going here. I can't forget my past, but I'm not gonna let my past hold me back. So I was like, I have to do it. I have to do it for Zion, I have to do it for Keziah, and all these other young girls that are looking up to me that have been through some of the same things that I've been through.
You saying God is vain?
No, not vain, Miss Celie. God just wants to share a good thing. You see, I think it pisses God off if you walk past The Color Purple and not notice it.
You saying God wants to be loved like they say in the Bible?
No, everything and everybody wants to be loved, especially God.
So I did. I jumped in there, and we were talking. It was 6 months.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you decided to.
Me too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Me too. Sandra, you also... Sandra, you also were hesitant to play the role in Zone of Interest, right? Because you had sort of said, I don't ever want to play anyone who's a Nazi or associated with the Holocaust. How did you decide to take on the role eventually?
Yeah, it had a lot to do with the work with Jonathan Glazer, because we had a lot of discussions about how we would approach this, or how he would decide to approach this with his team. And it was very clear from the beginning that it wouldn't be like the common approach that we have also sometimes in Germany, to just put people in uniforms and put down the swastika flags, and then we have fascism. But he wanted to show it from another side, and he wanted people to feel this phenomenon and to feel the, how do you say, the pain that came with it. I think that was the approach that he had, and I felt it really appropriate not to show some sort of heroic gesture or all these things that we know, or even make a dramatic story out of it, use it as a canvas for a normal drama. That all felt weird to me in the past years, and he yeah, I decided not to do all these things, and then I decided to do that. I didn't decide to play Hedwig Hewson in the first place. That would have been weird for me, but to be part of this experiment that he did there.
Die Sonnenblumen her. Und hier ist der Kohlrabi. Die Kinder essen wahnsinnig viel Kohlrabi.
I mean, you made that movie in a different political climate, and now we're in the midst of the Israel-Hamas conflict, and anti-Semitism, Islamophobia are on the rise. I'm curious if you think the film will be received differently now that it's coming out in the midst of all of that.
Honestly, I don't think so, because it touches something very universal and deeply human, and it deals with the fact that humans do these things to humans, and if we are not careful, we will do it again, all over again. Right. So it kind of points out the responsibility that we all have to treat each other in a good way, and to be respectful with each other, and to not let conflicts about religion rule our lives, or to put people down for what they are, what they were born like, and that they're different than us, and all these things. So that is not different now than it was before. I don't think so, no.
Playing Flora, oddly, came quite easy to me because I grew up in Dublin and I'm a Dublin girl, so there's a Flora living inside of me. But I think the singing aspect and her kind of stepping out of her comfort zone, doing something she never thought she could, I definitely related to that. And that kind of helped me get over my own anxieties about having to perform.
Eve, you had a very different fear approaching your movie Flora and Son.
Hard pivot.
Hard pivot. Well, we're talking about being, getting over anxieties of doing roles, right? And you said you would rather go swimming with sharks than sing.
I would run through the streets naked. Like, I just...
No, you wouldn't. Then sing?
Yes. I honest to God, I don't. It's not my comfort zone.
Okay.
And I never planned on doing it, and I never planned on sharing my beautiful voice with the world. But yeah, it was John Carney, and I read the script, and it's the character, Flora. I was just like, oh my God, this is so good, so bold, so everything I know being an Irish girl, and I had to just get over it. It would have killed me if I let it go just because of this little anxiety that I have.
Yeah.
We get to like the weekend before we start shooting and there are no songs. And what? This is, true. And so I'm like, John, I don't know what I'm doing, and I've got all this work to do. I'm not gonna have time to learn these songs like when I come home from a day on set. And he's like, yeah, we're kind of still figuring it out. But you know what, why don't you like write some stuff? It's from your perspective and it's your character, and like you come in and I'll come in with ideas and you come in with ideas and we'll just jam.
Just
jam. Worst night. But yeah, so we would shoot Monday to Friday, and then on Saturday we would go in and like jam. And it was fantastic. The first day I met Joseph Gordon-Levitt was at the studio, and we wrote the song we sing on the rooftop in 6 hours.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And then we shot that 3 days later, and I'd said to John on the day, I was like, cool, we got the song now, but can I go home and practice it for like 2 weeks? And he's like, oh, just get into the booth and, just put it down, and if we don't like it, we won't use it. And that's the tune.
Maybe we could call it home.
So now it just needs a killer bridge.
What's a bridge?
Bridge, change for 8 bars after the second chorus.
Okay. Sounds amazing.
That's better, right?
Yeah, it actually works.
Oh my gosh, my wonderful Natalie. I can't say enough about Natalie Portman. She's someone who completely surpassed my expectations. I admired her work for so long. and really hoped that something would come up we could do together. But I didn't know what she was going to be like as a person. You really don't have any idea until you're really kind of in it with somebody. And she turned out to be just an absolutely amazing partner. We're very similar in the way that we work. I think we take our work seriously, but we'll take ourselves seriously. And because we were such a great team, it was like we could push each other a little bit further. And then Charles came along, and he's somebody who's totally new to this kind of film and really, really impressed us so much. I went and read with him in his audition with Todd, and he was so very present, so really available and receptive, but also had this kind of, wonderful opacity and mystery to him that I think really lent itself to the character. And it was wonderful seeing the work he did in this. It was just beautiful, I think, the way he's blossomed.
I know everyone on your cast and crew has been very clear that this is not a depiction of Mary Kay Letourneau, but there are pieces of inspiration from the story. Did you go back and remind yourself of how things had happened or read interviews from that time?
I did, and the script is really interesting. Sammy Birch wrote such a beautiful script, and it's deceptively simple. But when you get into it, it's muscular. There's a lot of emotion in there, and a lot of. These are people, this is somebody who truly transgressed, right? And so I kind of looked at some documentary footage, and I read some stuff about the case, and it was important to, it was an interesting preparation, because at the same time I had to create this character that I needed to play. I also needed to create specific things for Natalie to imitate. And I had to do it right away. And there was a point where schedules were kind of weird, and Todd was worried he'd have to shoot Natalie before I got there. So he was like, "Can you just talk to Natalie?" And I'm like, "I don't know what I'm going to do." And thankfully it aligns that we were both there at the same time. And a lot of the physicality that I found, this character is hyper female. It's like she swallowed her gender whole, the culture of femininity, and is very kind of female forward, and also childlike. So there's presentation that's like a child. And so I started messing around with this idea of a vocal thing, something that seemed like, and I called Todd and I was like, "I'm thinking about a lisp. What do you think?" And
is that like a weird thing to ask a director if you want to
do a vocal?
I think it's always really scary when you do the voice for them for the first time.
Oh God! And Todd was like, "Oh, Julie, I'm not sure."
Yeah.
We really. And Natalie was delighted. Natalie was so happy.
It's honestly the most iconic thing. I was like, that is the boldest choice I've ever seen. And honestly, you clearly couldn't pull it off, but I was like, this is amazing.
My brother Mark, he still lives in Richmond. He always says, keep your expectations low and you'll never be disappointed. And I always forget that.
How many brothers do you have?
4.
What was the inspiration for the lisp?
I was watching a lot of footage of people kind of talking about transgressions. And there was something, in courtroom footage about the way people spoke. And I thought about, like I said, I thought about her hyper-femininity and her belief in herself as naive, as young. In order to have, from my point of view, I thought in order to have a love story with a 13-year-old boy, you have to make that 13-year-old a man. And that means that you are a child, right? And so she was always making him that. So like I said, I wanted something that was an indication of that state, that kind of, almost not even being able to be articulate.
So you won Todd over with the lisp. And then Sandra, I heard on Anatomy of a Fall with Justine Triet, you guys had a similar relationship where she said you would make suggestions on, words or scenes that you maybe wanted to tweak, and she would take them seriously and sometimes change them for you.
Oh, I don't remember that. But no, it's a true collaboration. There is, of course, she has planned the whole, and she wrote it with Atu Hari, so she knows a lot about the character and where she wants to go. But also, she's collecting material, which is a very female thing to do, to collect, to find things that are interesting, just put them somewhere, not go and aim and get it. so that she could, when she's in the editing room, find out where the story is really going. So that process has a lot to do with conversation and with finding out where we go. And we did that all the time. So it was a constant exchange of ideas and all these things.
My love, I just want you to know one thing. I am not that monster, you know? Everything you hear in the trial, it's twisted.
I was fascinated with the language switching. That was amazing. And to watch you speak German, speak French, go back to English, switch into something else, saying, I don't understand, I'm clear in this language, can I speak in this language? How did that develop? Was that in script? Was that something that you guys did together?
That was in the script, actually. She sometimes changed scenes that were meant to be in French that I had prepared to English because there had to be a 50-50 balance in the end. I think they wanted to have that from the beginning, and when we started, they didn't figure it out, so sometimes 3 days before we switched. But all the switches in the courtroom were in the script, so I knew exactly when she would use the other language and when she would try to make the real effort to speak French.
It added to the frustration of her defense in that it was so stressful watching you have to advocate for yourself and having to switch languages in order to kind of be heard more, be more convincing. It was just so clever.
But at the same time, it's like the first reason to play, because you always find a reason for somebody to speak, right? And to stand up for the things that they want. But when you have this problem that you want to be understood so badly, and it's not your mother tongue, it's the first thing that you want to do, and so you have to be really precise with everything, and you don't have to make any mistakes. So the tension comes from there, mostly. Also the emotional tension, but it comes from this, that you just don't want to mess up. Because, and listening to your colleagues very closely, because they speak French and you don't speak French, so you have to know what they're saying before, and you have to listen and listen and listen.
And that prosecutor was just...
He's so good, isn't he?
He's such a bully. I wanted to slap him.
Yeah, but he was so well prepared, so great. So good. Yeah.
For the inspiration for Zone of Interest, or films that Jonathan Glazer wanted us to see, was Swastika, a documentary, but not really a documentary, about Adolf Hitler and the people around him living at the Wolfshöhe. He wanted us to see that, and he also wanted us to see The Act of Killing, which I did. Which is about a reenactment of a genocide.
Fantasia, you started on American Idol. Now you're in this movie that's up for Oscar contention, and you were talking about in the beginning, your hesitation to even do this movie. Is acting now something that you feel a calling towards as much as singing? Is it something you'd like to continue after this?
Well, after sitting with all these ladies, we're all gonna become friends. They're gonna coach me through all this. I wanted to ask you, were there ever any moments, because I know this is all new for me, and so stepping into, it was different from Broadway. This time, I was able to leave Celie on set, but I still felt like when I got home, it was still a bit heavy, taxing. Did you ever feel like that because of the role that you're playing?
Sometimes. Okay. When I was younger, it was more. Now I think I can leave it behind a bit better. But especially in this situation with Jonathan Glazer and all the team being in Oswiecim, close to Auschwitz, of course it did something to the person, but it's not related to the character really. It's just being in that place and having all these observations and feelings and dealing with the past of your country. So that was more of that. But I embraced all these things because they're important, and I didn't want to run away from it. So, yeah. But nowadays, I think I put on a costume. I don't know how you did. It's that's also something that you learn in theater. You put on a costume and you say words that are not your own, and everybody knows, really. So you can take it off. And some people have rituals, some people wash their feet after they go off stage, for example, or... do things just to...
Straws, feet. So new for me, so I'm probably going to ask a lot of questions, because I think when I did Broadway, I did not know how to let go, and nobody taught me how to let go.
Yeah, they don't teach you, right? Yeah, that's true. Getting into it, yes, but getting out of it, not. Yeah, true.
I relate to that, Fantasia. I was never trained as an actor. I started my career at 17. I came out of public school drama departments, you know. So I didn't have like a process or a way of knowing like how to put it on, how to take it off, how to, at the end of the day, try to be the person you are versus living with the tone of the piece that you're working in. And I still find it very, very difficult to fully escape like the material. When I'm in it, it feels like the material is working even in silent and subconscious ways, and especially something so personal and so heavy. I can't imagine it not kicking up, you know, feelings, and also just the sheer energy that it takes to bring that through. And for you, through your voice, I mean, I don't know, I feel like that might be impossible to fully shed at the end of the day, you know?
And okay, thank you for saying that, because my therapist kept saying, would you like to have a session? And I was like, I can't. I really can't. I felt like I have to stay here.
Yeah, I think that's unfair. You know, I do think that's really unfair, because I think part of training, I think what, you know, Sandra was talking about is learning how to go into something, learning how to construct something, and then hopefully like learning, having the tools to get out of it too. You know, knowing that like acting is a construct. It's like we have all these feelings, we have all these emotions. That's what the wonderful thing is. But then you also hopefully have a structure that helps you with. I always think that, you know, the wonderful thing about, well, there's in film acting, you see it all around you. You know, you see the cameras, you see the crew, you see the flats, you see everything. And on stage, of course, you just have all these people in front of you. And so it's always been helpful for me to understand that physicality, the idea that it is not that so much of what's happening inside me is conjured, and the rest of us are there to kind of support it, capture it, deliver it, whatever, and that's really helpful. And I think there's a lot of mythology for actors, unfortunately, about this staying in it, staying in it, staying in it, and I think it's tough. It's really destructive, and so it's not fair to take someone who hasn't had that kind of instruction and say, like, just do it. Because of course you're gonna feel so responsible for holding on to all of that stuff, and that's really tough.
The thing when you work with Chris is that he does expect, he tightens the screws on everyone. It's not just the actors, it's the crew, it's everyone. Everyone has to be at the top echelon of whatever their game is. And it was joyful in that you're so safe working with Chris. Everyone feels that way. I think it was really planning, because we shot so out of sequence, I think planning that decline and that deterioration that she goes through and making sure it felt worthy and it felt slow and believable. I would say that, like, seeing her shift from being this sort of seductress that she is at the beginning into being the booze-addled, volatile person she becomes at the end.
Emily, you've said that when people come up to you and ask you, or say like, oh, my daughter wants to be an actress, sometimes you'll be like, no, please don't put them in that industry. Why do you say that?
I mean, I don't really say that, but
Just like,
no, I mean, I don't think it's fair to say. I probably, again, isn't it fun when you say something once and then it's like, this is your gospel. Yeah. But I think it is obviously an industry that is not for the faint of heart. So I have like nerves for people going into it. I feel a bit scared for them, you know. But I think if my kids want to do it, I'm not going to be holding on to them by their ankles. They're gonna, if they want to do it, they should, and I will support it.
And I think there are different ways to exist in this industry. I mean, everybody does it their own way. There's not this one concept that everybody follows. Some people try to tell you it's this way, but I don't think so. People can be really private and not do all the ugly things that you supposedly have to do.
I asked you in the bathroom, I said, do you still love it? I ask everybody in the industry.
Why do you ask them that?
Because it's hard. It's tough. And like she said, you gotta have thick skin. And I started off singing at 5. There was a point in my life where I didn't enjoy that anymore because it was, are you dropping a #1 album? Will you win a Grammy? You know, and you get caught up in that rat race and you're like, hold up. I actually used to sing without getting paid. Like, I actually used to do this because I loved it. So I had to get back to that place. So when I meet somebody, I ask them, do you still love what you do? I asked her in the bathroom, and I think I asked you. Do you still love what you do?
I do.
You still love what you do?
Oh, yeah.
I love. No, I do.
America wants more from the world.
So much more from this world. I love parts of it.
Yeah.
I think that it's like any love. You have to be wide-eyed about it. I mean, wide open. You know, your eyes wide open about it, about what's good and what's bad, and what's hard about it, and also like what we ask of ourselves, and that it isn't always like, it sounds like everybody had really beautiful experiences on the films they're talking about.
It's not always that way.
It's not always that way.
Yeah, we're not talking about
that way.
You don't always get
today.
You don't always get the call. I mean, even being a part of this conversation with this level of talent is, I mean, it's a tiny percentage of a tiny percentage of people who get to have this experience and the work be good and the work be fulfilling and collaborative and joyful. And so, you know, I think the truth is you know, like anything you love, there's always the complexity to it.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to be a downer.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's your honest, and like she said, everybody, it's different for everybody, you know? So
I've also been on some films where you can't wait to see the back of them. It's like, you just can't wait. You know, and that's hard. That's when it's overwhelming. That's when you're like, bye.
Is the car running?
Run.
And that's okay, because there are people who go to work every day and hate their
That's
jobs,
right. Yeah.
And
that's right.
keeping the perspective of
That's right.
Yeah. Eve, didn't your dad say, like, please don't do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart.
What was his reasoning?
Like, well, who wants their teenage daughter to be like, I want to be an actress? You know, like, it's like, oh God, no. Yeah, he was very against it, which is funny because his dad was very against him singing. So we had like sort of a...
Was he like reverse psychology?
Maybe. Sometimes I think that, like, maybe this was a part of their evil plan. But no, my parents were just, they were just like, please don't do that. I think also because they know people in the business and they know women in the business and they've heard these stories and they know the experiences of a lot of actresses, that that was a concern for him. But you know,
Barrino was wrong.
I did not say that. No, but yeah, we actually ended up having this weird conversation / fight where I was like, your dad didn't want you to sing and you didn't listen to him. You don't want me to act and I'm not going to listen to you. And now he's like watches, like he saw Flora and Son like 6 times.
Aww.
I know, he like listens to the soundtrack and he like calls me all the time talking about how great the song is and how I need to like get Rihanna on that song.
Dad's on it.
Yeah.
I'm very, very honored to be sitting here and listening to you guys and how you build and how you step into the shoes of these characters. So I feel like I'm in school. I'm in the best class right now.
Well, thank you all for coming and taking class at being together. I appreciate it, and good luck. It's the next few weeks this season.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That was so fun. My God, you guys are amazing.
Oh, that was
wow.
There are so many stunning performances and so many that I've yet to see because so many movies haven't come out yet. But I mean, I was really blown away by Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. I thought his performance was a tour de force, and of course, I thought, I really do think that Ryan Gosling's performance as Ken is like one for the history books.
The fingerprints of Carey Mulligan's performance in Maestro will be on me forever. I just thought it was one of the most riveting things I've ever seen. I love Maestro. I thought it was absolutely heart-wrenching, and Bradley's wonderful in it.
I've seen so much already that's really spectacular. I think Annette Bening and Jodie Foster are just astonishing in Naiad. I love watching them together.